Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is arguably one of the most famous up-and-coming politicians out there. But before she landed on Capitol Hill, she was living a pretty normal life. Here's how this Bronx native went from science geek to AOC, and why she's not stopping now. 29-year-old Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't just represent New York City in Congress.
The president is from Queens, and with all due respect, half of my district is from Queens. I don't think he knows how to deal with a girl from the Bronx.
It turns out AOC's a native of the Bronx, with deep roots in the community. She told Vogue, "My aunt and my uncle were just talking last Christmas about how they literally heard Malcolm X evangelizing on street corners. That is the institutional memory of my family and multi-generational New York families." The New York City that AOC's family first experienced was much different than it is today.
The America we grew up in is like nothing like the America our parents or our grandparents grew up in.
As the city has changed, it's become less and less affordable. AOC said, "My family is 3 generations deep in the Bronx, and my own mother can't afford to live in the same city, in the same state as me anymore because it's gotten too expensive." It was during some especially challenging times that AOC's parents' story began in the Bronx. Alexandria told Vogue, "I was born to a dad who was born in the South Bronx while the Bronx was burning, while landlords were committing arson to their own buildings. He grew up as a kid with 5 people in a 1-bedroom apartment, and my mom was born in poverty in Puerto Rico." But after meeting in Puerto Rico, AOC's mom and dad were able to make a living in the Bronx. She said, "They met in Puerto Rico, they got married, came back, and had me, and as 20-somethings, they were able to take out a small loan and get an apartment in the Bronx and have me."
I'm a Latina, I am a Boricua, I am a descendant of Taino Indians, I am a descendant of African slaves. I am proud to be an American.
Thanks to their continued hard work and their smart money moves, they were able to then buy a house in nearby Yorktown Heights shortly after AOC turned 5 years old, according to the New York Times.
When I was a kid, about half of New York City high schoolers would never graduate.
One of the main reasons AOC's family moved to Westchester County was to find better schooling.
My mom wanted to make sure that I had a solid chance and a solid education.
But it didn't take long for AOC to learn a valuable lesson about life. She told 60 Minutes.
And just growing up that way and with my cousins who were all my age too, feeling like we all had kind of different opportunities depending on where we were physically located.
That's because her cousins remained in the Bronx while she was out in the burbs. But things were good for AOC in Yorktown. Her mother Blanca told the Daily Mail, quote, "We had a great life there. They had a yard and a shed that AOC converted into a clubhouse for herself and her friends. Then in high school, she dove into reading history and biography books. All in all, a pretty idyllic childhood." Long before AOC had any political aspirations, she was quite the serious science student. In 2007, when she was in high school, she won 2nd place in the International Science and Engineering Fair with a study on the anti-aging effect of antioxidants in roundworms. As her high school science teacher Michael Bluegrass remembers, AOC was extremely competent and beyond professional while presenting her project. He told the New York Times, "One of the administrators wasn't there at the beginning and came in after she started, and he said to the superintendent, 'What company is she from?' She presented herself verbally, visually, everything, as if she was a 30-year-old professional presenter businesswoman, even though she was 17 years old." After finishing high school, AOC headed off to college, becoming the first in her family to do so, according to one of her tweets in 2018. She told 60 Minutes,
We were really working on the classic American dream.
Of course, Ocasio-Cortez had to take out student loans to finance her education, in addition to receiving scholarships and grants, but she was able to manage it and enrolled at Boston University. According to the BU website, she majored in international relations and economics, after switching from a biochemistry major, according to The New Yorker, and interned in the late Senator Ted Kennedy's office, specifically in the immigration department. AOC graduated from BU in 2011 with honors. Despite the fact that AOC found success in her college endeavors, she was dealt a devastating blow when her father passed away of cancer in 2008.
My father knew my soul better than anyone on this planet.
She shared with The New Yorker, "I channeled my pain into my studies. That's how I dealt with it. I was home for a week and went right back to school."
Losing him in a time when you're just figuring out the world was really hard.
She turned her work ethic up to 11 and her GPA, quote, skyrocketed after the last words her father ever spoke to her.
And he said, hey, make me proud.
In the fallout of her father's death, the family was thrust into dire financial straits. AOC told The Intercept, "My father pretty much died with nothing. He left us almost nothing except we had a house and small things here and there." Due to the circumstances at home and amidst the 2008 recession, AOC moved back home to work as a waitress and bartender to keep their family home out of foreclosure.
You're trying to make a $300 student loan bill here and your foreclosure installment here. You just do your best to survive.
Although AOC worked on the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016, she didn't have any real political ambitions of her own. But all of that changed when she witnessed one of the most controversial events of 2016 and 17.
I'm just here to protect the water.
AOC told The Cut, "The tipping point was when I was at Standing Rock in 2016 and I saw how all of the people there, particularly the Native people and the Lakota Sioux, were putting their whole lives and everything that they had on the line for the protection of their community. I saw how a corporation had literally militarized itself against the American people, and I just felt like we were at a point where we couldn't afford to ignore politics anymore." It just so happened that right at that time, an opportunity came knocking for AOC. She said, "It was the day that I got off camp that a national organization, Brand New Congress, called me and asked if I'd be willing to run. Of course, she said yes.
I'm running because everyday Americans deserve to be represented by everyday Americans."
AOC rolled into 2017 full steam ahead. While still working at a restaurant, she kicked off her primary campaign against Congressman Joe Crowley, according to Business Insider.
If I was a normal, rational person, I would have dropped out of this race a long time ago.
But that didn't stop the congressional candidate from also serving as the educational director for the 2017 Northeast Collegiate World Series for the National Hispanic Institute, or NHI. In her role, she worked with 150 high school students, who she said reminded her of exactly why she's running for office.
It's incredibly centering, and they are why I'm doing this.
Her work as an educator, as well as her political ambition and leadership skills, were what earned her the honor of being named the 2017 NHI Person of the Year by President Ernesto Nieto, who said in a statement, "Alex symbolizes the new emerging Latina, bold and courageous, well-educated and forward-thinking, contemporary with her ideas and views, and unafraid of challenges."
He's going to tell me I'm small, that I'm little, that I'm young, that I'm inexperienced.
In what has been called one of the most shocking political upsets of 2018, AOC won her primary election against 10-term incumbent Congressman Joe Crowley in New York's 14th District. This was in spite of the fact that Crowley outspent her 10-1 and was the fourth highest-ranking Democrat in the U.S. House of Representatives.
We need to have the courage to stand up for working people and stand up against corporate interests.
AOC ran a homegrown campaign and didn't take a single dime of lobbyist money, according to her Instagram, where she thanked her supporters, writing, "All I can say is thank you. Thank you to everyone who believes in this movement." She wrote in the caption, "Thank you for understanding what positive change asks of us, that we make it happen, not wait to happen." On November 6, 2018, AOC made history when she defeated Republican Anthony Pappas to become the youngest woman ever elected to the U.S. House of Representatives.
Our deepest challenges are not left and right. They are not red and blue. They are top and bottom. They are right and wrong.
She took to Instagram the next day to thank her many supporters, writing, "Thank you to the people of the Bronx and Queens for choosing to make history and sending me to Congress. Thanks to every organizer, supporter, and small dollar donor who made this happen."
We have made history tonight.
AOC was in the company of 3 other women of color who were on their way to the House for the first time: Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib. The 4 have since become known as a formidable squad, according to the Washington Post, as they share similar political ideas. AOC even posted an image of the 4 women, of course, captioning it "Squad." AOC is best known for her progressive policies. She's in favor of the Green New Deal, the abolition of ICE, free healthcare for every American, and free college for students. This platform has drawn the ire of her political opponents, some of whom have called her radical. But that label doesn't bother AOC one bit. She told 60 Minutes,
Well, I think that it only has ever been radicals that have changed this country. Abraham Lincoln made the radical decision to sign the Emancipation Proclamation.
She added,
Franklin Delano Roosevelt made the radical decision to embark on establishing programs like Social Security.
When she was asked if she considers herself a radical, she answered,
Yeah, if that's what radical means, call me a radical.